The throne room of the Valari Empire was always full of light. The walls were made of crystal that caught the light of 3 suns and turned it into rainbows. The floor was smooth like water. The air smelled sweet like flowers from 100 different worlds. It was the most beautiful room in the entire galaxy. But today, the beauty meant nothing. Queen Morella sat on her throne and felt like she was dying inside. Her body was tall and graceful, covered in smooth purple skin that shimmered when she moved. She had 4 eyes, all of them gold like sunrise, and 2 long antennae on her head that could feel emotions in the air around her. Right now, those antennae were pressed flat against her skull. She was trying not to scream. Her daughter was gone. Princess Lyra had been traveling to a peaceful planet for a simple ceremony. She was young, only 12 cycles old in human years, still small and soft and innocent. The queen had sent 47 of her best guards to protect her. She had believed her daughter would be safe. She was wrong. 3 days ago, a group of slayers called the Scourge had attacked the convoy. They came out of nowhere, fast and deadly. They killed all the guards. They took the princess. And then they disappeared into a part of space called the Ash Nebula, where law did not exist and hope went to die. The queen had not slept since she heard the news. She had not eaten. She had only stood at her window or sat on her throne, trying to think of a way to save her child. "My queen," said Admiral Voran, stepping forward. He was old and wise, with gray spots on his blue skin and tired eyes. "We must discuss our options." "There are no options," the queen said. Her voice was hollow. "You told me the fleet cannot reach her in time. You told me the Scourge will move her before we can find their base. You told me my daughter is lost." "I did not say lost, my queen. I said, difficult to recover. It is the same thing." The other advisors looked at each other nervously. They had never seen their queen like this. She was always strong, always calm, always in control. Now she looked like a mother whose heart had been torn from her chest. Trade Minister Callus cleared his throat. He was a small man with nervous hands and eyes that were always calculating. "There may be one more option, my queen." Everyone turned to look at him. "Speak," the queen said. "The humans." The room went silent. Admiral Voran's face twisted with disgust. "Humans? You want us to ask humans for help?" "Not just any human," Callus said quickly. "A specific one. A man who works alone in the Rim territories. He specializes in finding people who have been taken. He has gone into Scourge territory 17 times. 17 times he has brought his targets back alive." "Humans are violent and dangerous," Admiral Voran said. "They destroyed their own planet with their wars. They cannot be trusted." "They are also effective," Callus replied. "This human especially. They call him the Patient One. He never fails." Queen Morella raised her head slowly. "What is his name?" "Park Taiho. He is a former soldier from something called the Terran Colonial Forces. After Earth was destroyed, he became something else. A hunter, a finder. A man who walks into darkness and brings people back." The queen was quiet for a long moment. Her antennae trembled slightly, reaching out to feel the emotions in the room. Fear, doubt, desperation, hope. "Bring him to me," she said. Admiral Voran stepped forward. "My queen, I must protest. Humans cannot be trusted. They are my daughter's only chance." The queen's voice was suddenly hard as steel. "Bring him to me." No one argued after that. It took 3 days to find Park Taiho and bring him to the palace. During those 3 days, the queen did not sleep. She stood at her window and looked at the stars and tried to feel her daughter somewhere out there in the cold darkness of space. When the human finally arrived, she was waiting in the throne room with all her advisors around her. She wanted to look powerful. She wanted to look like a queen. But inside, she was just a mother begging for her child's life. The doors opened, and Park Tae-ho walked in. He was not what she expected. The queen had seen images of humans before. They were usually large and loud, full of energy and aggression. This man was different. He was average height, with black hair cut short and a face that showed nothing. His eyes were dark and calm, like deep water that hid everything beneath the surface. He wore old armor that had been repaired many times, and a single gun hung at his side. He walked across the throne room without bowing. The guards tensed, but the queen raised her hand to stop them. This human did not follow their customs. She would not force him. "You are Park Tae-ho," she said. "Yes, you know why I called you here. Your daughter, Princess Lyra, taken by the Scourge 6 days ago. Probably held in their main base somewhere in the Ash Nebula." He spoke like he was reading a report. No emotion. No fear. "You want me to bring her back. Can you do it?" He looked at her for a long moment. His dark eyes seemed to see everything, her fear, her desperation. Then he did something that made all the guards reach for their weapons. He walked past the safety line, coming close enough to speak quietly. "I can do it," he said, "but I have conditions. Name your price. Gold, ships, technology, whatever you want. I do not want your money." The queen blinked in surprise. "Then what do you want?" After Earth was destroyed, millions of humans scattered across the galaxy. Most of them are refugees now, living in broken ships, begging for scraps, dying in the cold of space. His voice stayed calm, but something burned behind his eyes. 30,000 families are floating near your border right now. Children, old people, sick people. They have nowhere to go, and no one will take them. He paused. "Give them a home. Give them land, safety, a chance to live. Do that, and I will bring your daughter back." The advisors erupted in protests. 30,000 humans? Living in Valari space? It was madness. It was dangerous. It was impossible. But Queen Morella was not listening to them. She was looking at this human who had asked for nothing for himself. He could have demanded anything: wealth, power, status. Instead, he asked for homes for strangers who would never even know his name. "You would risk your life for people you have never met?" she asked. "They are my people," he said simply. "Just like your daughter is yours." The queen understood then. This human was not a mercenary. He was not doing this for profit or glory. He was doing it because he knew what it meant to lose everything, and he refused to let others suffer the same fate. "Agreed," she said. The room fell silent. Admiral Voren looked like he might faint. The other advisors stared with their mouths open. "My queen," Callus started. I said agreed. The queen stood from her throne and walked down the steps until she stood face to face with the human. She was taller than him, but somehow he did not seem small. "Bring my daughter home, Park Tae-ho. Bring her home alive, and your people will have everything they need: land, resources, safety. My word is queen." Tae-ho nodded once. "Then I leave now. Every hour matters." He turned and walked toward the door without waiting to be dismissed. The guards looked at the queen, unsure what to do. She waved them away. At the door, Tae-ho stopped and looked back over his shoulder. "I will bring her home," he said. "That is my promise." Then he was gone. The queen stood alone in the center of her throne room, surrounded by advisors who thought she was crazy and guards who did not understand. But for the first time in 6 days, she felt something other than despair. She felt hope. Somewhere out there, a human was walking into darkness for her daughter. A stranger who wanted nothing but to save his own people. A man who had promised to bring her child home. Queen Morella looked up at the crystal ceiling, at the light of 3 suns scattered into a million colors. "Come home, my little one," she whispered. "He's coming for you. Hold on. Just hold on." It was not always ugly. Long ago, it was home to 3 different civilizations. They built cities that floated among the stars. They created art that made people weep with joy. They lived in peace for thousands of years. Then they went to war. No one remembers why anymore. But the war destroyed everything. The cities became rubble. The art became dust. The people became bones floating in the endless dark. Now the Ash Nebula was nothing but broken pieces of dead worlds, drifting slowly through space like ghosts. This was where the Scourge made their home. They were slavers, the worst kind of criminals. They stole people from their families and sold them to whoever would pay. They had no mercy, no honor, no soul. They lived in the darkness because the darkness was the only place that would have them park. Taiho guided his ship through the debris field with careful hands. His ship was called the Quiet Step, and it was as unremarkable as its owner. Small gray, covered in scratches and repairs. It looked like a piece of junk that should have been thrown away years ago, but looks could be deceiving. The Quiet Step was fast and silent, built for sneaking into places where no one should go. Taiho had modified it himself over many years, adding technology from a dozen different species. It could hide from almost any scanner. It could run so quiet that it seemed to disappear. In the pilot seat beside him sat his partner, Yuna. She was younger than Taiho, with short black hair and quick eyes that missed nothing. She had grown up in the refugee ships after Earth died, learning to survive in a universe that did not want humans anymore. She was good with computers, good with communications, and very good at keeping Taiho alive when he did something stupid. Right now, she was studying the scanner readings with a worried expression. "I found their base," she said. "It is inside an asteroid cluster about 50 kilometers wide. Very well hidden. I am reading more than 2,000 life signs. Most of them hostile? Almost all of them. The Scourge do not keep many prisoners alive for long." She paused. "But I found something interesting. There is a group of life signs in the lower levels that do not match Scourge biology. 37 of them. They are probably prisoners. That is where the princess will be." Yuna turned to look at him. "Taiho? She has been there for 9 days now. The Scourge do terrible things to their prisoners. She is alive." His voice was flat, certain. "The Scourge do not kill valuable merchandise quickly. They break them first, make them obedient, then sell them. We have time, and if we do not..." He did not answer. He just checked his equipment one more time and started preparing for the mission. The Quiet Step drifted closer to the asteroid base, moving so slowly that it looked like just another piece of debris. Taiho had turned off almost every system on the ship. No lights, no heat, no power except what was needed to keep them alive. The Scourge had good sensors, but even they could not detect something that was basically dead. When they were close enough, Taiho moved to the airlock. "I will be on radio silence once I am inside," he told Yuna. "Any signal could give away my position. I will contact you when I have the princess, and I am ready for extraction. And if you do not contact me, then leave. Take the ship and go back to Queen Morella. Tell her I failed. I am not leaving you behind, Taiho." He looked at her, and for a moment, his cold expression softened. "If I die, those 30,000 families lose their only chance. The mission is bigger than me. If I fail, you go back and find another way." Yuna wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She had learned a long time ago that Taiho always put the mission first, always put other people first. It was why she followed him, and it was why she worried about him. "Just do not die," she said. "Please, I will try." He stepped into the airlock and closed the door behind him. The asteroid base was massive and ugly, a fortress of metal and rock that had been built into the side of a dead world. Taiho floated across the gap between his ship and the base in complete darkness, using a small thruster pack to guide himself. His suit was black, designed to absorb light rather than reflect it. He was invisible. Finding an entrance took 30 minutes. The base had many doors and ports, but all of them were guarded or monitored. Taiho found a small maintenance hatch on the bottom of the base, hidden behind a pile of debris. The lock was old and simple. He cracked it in less than a minute. Inside, the base was exactly what he expected. Dark, dirty, full of the sounds of violence and despair. The Scourge did not care about comfort or beauty. They only cared about profit and power. Taiho moved through the corridors like a shadow, never making a sound, never leaving a trace. He had been doing this for years, and he knew how to be invisible. The Scourge guards were confident. They believed no one could find their base, and no one would dare attack it, even if they did. That confidence made them careless. He counted the guards as he moved. 20 on the upper levels, 30 more in the middle sections. The lower levels, where the prisoners were kept, probably had even more. This was not going to be easy, but Taiho had never done anything easy in his life. The journey to the lower levels took 4 hours. 4 hours of waiting in shadows while patrols passed. 4 hours of crawling through maintenance tunnels that were not meant for humans. 4 hours of absolute silence and perfect patience. When he finally reached the prison area, he understood why they called it hell. The cells were small and dark, packed with beings from dozens of different species. Some of them had been there for weeks or months. Their eyes were empty, their spirits broken. They did not even look up when Taiho passed. They had given up hope. Other cells held newer prisoners. These ones still had fight in them. They rattled their cages and screamed curses at the guards who beat them. But even their defiance was starting to fade. The Scourge knew how to break people. They were very good at it. Taiho moved through the prison level, checking each cell, looking for the one person he had come to save. His heart was cold and steady, but inside, he felt something he rarely allowed himself to feel. Anger. These people, all of them, deserved to be saved. They deserved to go home to their families, to feel sunlight on their faces, to live without fear. But Taiho was only one man. He could not save everyone. He could only save one. He found Princess Lyra in the deepest cell. Far from the others. She was curled up in the corner, her small body pressed against the cold metal wall. Her purple skin was pale and dirty, her golden eyes dull with exhaustion. Her antennae lay flat against her head, limp and lifeless. She was wearing the same dress she had been captured in, now torn and stained. She was 12 years old, and she looked like she had already given up. Taiho crouched beside the bars of her cell and spoke softly. "Princess Lyra." She flinched. Her eyes snapped open, full of fear. When she saw his strange flat face and round eyes, she pressed herself even tighter against the wall. "You are human," she whispered. "They told me humans are monsters. They told me humans eat other species. They lied." Taiho kept his voice gentle, the way he remembered speaking to his little sister a long time ago. "I am here to take you home. Your mother sent me." "Mama?" The word came out broken, full of desperate hope and terrible fear. "Mama is alive?" "She is alive. She's waiting for you. She has been waiting since the moment you were taken." Tears started to fall from the princess's golden eyes. I thought she forgot about me. I thought no one was coming. Someone is always coming." Taiho started working on the lock. It was more complicated than the maintenance hatch, but he had tools for this. "I need you to be very brave, princess. We are going to get out of here, but it will be dangerous. Can you be brave for me? Princess Lyra wiped her eyes and nodded slowly. I can try. That is all I ask. The lock clicked open. Taiho pulled the door back and held out his hand. The princess looked at it for a long moment, this strange alien hand, so different from her own. Then she reached out and took it. Her fingers were small and cold and trembling. Stay close to me, Taiho said. Stay quiet. Do exactly what I tell you. I will get you home. I promise. Why? She asked as they moved out of the cell. Why are you helping me? You do not know me. Taiho thought about the question as he led her through the dark corridor. Why was he here? Why did he risk his life for strangers again and again? Because a long time ago, he said quietly, I had a little sister. She was about your age when the bad things started happening. I could not save her. He looked down at the small alien princess holding his hand. I can save you. They moved into the shadows together, and the long journey back to the light began. They were halfway to the exit. Taiho had planned every step of the escape perfectly. He knew where the guards walked, when they changed shifts, which corridors were safe. He had mapped it all out in his head during the long hours of infiltration. All Princess Lyra had to do was follow him and stay quiet. But she was weak. 9 days of captivity, barely any food, almost no water. Her legs were shaking with every step. Taiho could see that she was using all her strength just to keep moving. They were passing through a narrow hallway when it happened. Lyra stumbled. Her foot caught on an uneven floor plate, and she fell forward with a small cry of surprise. Her hand slapped against the wall to catch herself. The wall had a sensor. For one frozen heartbeat, nothing happened. Taiho looked at the princess. The princes looked at Taiho. They both knew what was coming. Then the alarm started screaming. Red lights exploded across the corridor. A loud voice shouted in the Scourge language, ordering all guards to the prison level. The sound of running feet came from every direction. Taiho did not waste time being angry or scared. He simply bent down, lifted Princess Lyra onto his back, and started running. Hold on tight, he said. Do not let go, no matter what. Lyra wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face in his shoulder. She was crying. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I ruined everything. You ruined nothing. This is just the hard way out. He was already running up a stairwell, taking the steps 3 at a time. I prefer the hard way. It is more interesting. The first guards appeared at the top of the stairs. There were 3 of them, big and ugly, with weapons already raised. Taiho did not slow down. He pulled his gun and fired 3 times. 3 bodies fell. Close your eyes, he told Lyra. Keep them closed until I tell you otherwise. She obeyed. What followed was not something Taiho wanted her to see. He moved through the Scourge base like a storm. Every corner brought new enemies, and every enemy fell. He did not fight with rage or hate. He fought with cold, perfect skill. Each shot found its target. Each movement was precise. He had been a soldier once, trained in the old Earth military before everything fell apart. He had fought in wars that killed billions. He had survived when everyone around him died. He was very, very good at killing. But even the best fighter could not avoid everything. A plasma bolt hit his shoulder and burned through his armor. He stumbled, gritted his teeth, and kept moving. Another shot grazed his leg. He limped, but he did not stop. A third hit him in the side, and he felt something inside him break. Still, he kept moving. You are hurt, Lyra whispered against his shoulder. She could feel the wetness of his blood on her arms. Please, put me down. Save yourself. Not an option. But you will die. Maybe, but you will not. They reached a large cargo bay. The exit was on the other side, a door that led to the docking area where Yuna was waiting. Between Taiho and that door stood 20 Scourge warriors, all armed, all angry. Taiho stopped. He gently set Lyra down behind a large crate and looked into her frightened eyes. "Stay here," he said. "Do not move until I come back for you." "What are you going to do?" He checked his weapon. 6 shots left. 20 enemies. Bad numbers. My job. He stepped out from behind the crate and started walking toward the Scourge warriors. They raised their weapons and pointed them at him. One of them laughed. "Stupid human," the warrior said. "You are alone against all of us. You cannot win." Taiho kept walking. "Probably not. Then why do you keep fighting?" "Because she is just a child." His voice was calm, almost tired. "Because her mother is waiting for her. Because I promised I would bring her home." The Scourge warrior sneered. "Humans and their promises. Your promises mean nothing." Taiho stopped. He was now standing in the middle of the cargo bay, completely exposed, with 20 weapons pointed at his chest. This was suicide. This was madness. But he had been in worse situations. "My promises," he said quietly, "mean everything." Then he moved. He was faster than they expected. Faster than a human should be. He had trained his body for decades, pushed it beyond normal limits, turned himself into something more than just a man. His first 3 shots dropped 3 warriors before they could react. Then he was among them, too close for their weapons to be useful. He fought with fists and elbows and knees. He used their own bodies as shields against their friends' weapons. He was hit again and again, plasma burns, knife cuts, crushing blows, but he did not fall. He could not fall. There was a little girl watching, counting on him, believing that he would keep his promise. He would not let her down. The fight lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, Taiho was the only one standing. He stood in the center of the cargo bay, surrounded by fallen enemies, covered in blood, some of it his, most of it not. His left arm hung useless at his side. His breathing was ragged and wet. He could feel broken ribs grinding together with every step. But he was alive. "Princess," he called softly, "you can come out now." Lyra emerged from behind the crate. Her eyes were wide with shock as she looked at the battlefield around her. She had kept her eyes closed during most of the fighting, but she could see the results. She could see what this human had done to save her. You killed them all," she whispered. "Yes. For me?" "For you. For your mother. For the promise I made." He held out his good hand. "Come, we are almost there." She ran to him and took his hand. Then she looked up at his face and saw the pain he was trying to hide. Tears started falling from her golden eyes again. "You are dying," she said. "I am not dead yet. That is what matters." He started walking toward the exit door. "My ship is close. My friend Yuna is waiting. She will get us out of here." They pushed through the exit and into the docking area. The quiet step was there, hovering just outside an airlock, its lights blinking in welcome. Yuna's voice came through Taiho's communication device. "I see you. I am opening the cargo door now." "Hurry." Taiho tried to hurry. He really did. But his body was failing him. Too much blood lost. Too much damage. His legs felt like they were made of stone. Each step was harder than the last. He stumbled. Lyra tried to catch him, but she was too small and he was too heavy. They both fell to the ground. Taiho's vision was starting to go dark around the edges. "No!" Lyra grabbed his face with her small hands. No. You cannot stop now. We are so close." "I know." His voice was barely a whisper. "I just need a moment." "There is no moment. They will come. More of them will come." She was right. He could hear footsteps behind them. More Scourge warriors, coming to finish what their friends had started. Lyra did something that surprised them both. She stood up, put her hands under his shoulders, and started dragging him toward the airlock. She was small and weak and exhausted, but she pulled with everything she had. Her face twisted with effort. Her legs shook, but she did not stop. "You promised," she said through gritted teeth. "You promised you would bring me home." "A promise means everything, right? That is what you said." Taiho looked up at this little alien princess, this child who refused to give up even when everything seemed lost. Something stirred in his chest, pride, maybe, or hope, or simply the stubborn refusal to die. He got his legs under him. Together, they stumbled toward the airlock. Yuna was there, reaching out, pulling them inside. The door sealed behind them. The quiet steps screamed away from the asteroid base as plasma fire chased them into the darkness of space. In the cargo hold, Lyra held Taiho's hand as Yuna fought to save his life. Machines beeped. Needles pumped medicine into his veins. His blood spread across the floor in a pool of red. "Stay with me," Lyra begged. "Please? I need to tell Mama what you did. I need to tell her how brave you were." Taiho's eyes were barely open. His breathing was shallow and weak, but he managed a small smile. "Tell her. The price was fair." His eyes closed. Lyra screamed. But Yuna kept working, kept fighting, kept refusing to let this human die. And somewhere in the darkness of space, flying towards safety and home, Park Taiho held on to life by a thread, because he had made a promise. And his promises meant everything. Every night, she stood at her window and looked at the stars. Every morning, she sat on her throne and waited for news. Her advisors begged her to eat, to rest, to take care of herself. She ignored them all. Her daughter was out there somewhere. A human stranger had gone to find her. Until she knew the outcome, she could not rest. The other members of her court whispered behind her back. They said she was foolish to trust a human. They said she had been tricked. They said the human probably took her money and ran away, leaving the princess to die in the darkness. But Queen Morella did not believe that. She had looked into Park Taiho's eyes. She had seen something there that the others had missed. Something true. On the 12th day, a message came. "My queen!" A young officer burst into the throne room, breaking all rules of proper behavior. He was breathing hard, his eyes wide with excitement. "A ship has been detected at the edge of our space. It matches the description of the human vessel." The queen was on her feet before he finished speaking. "Where?" "Sector 7. Our patrol ships are escorting it now. They report that the princess is on board." For a moment, Queen Morella could not breathe. Her hearts, both of them, stopped beating. The room spun around her. "Alive?" The word came out as a whisper. "Alive, my queen. She is alive." The queen ran. She did not walk with royal dignity. She did not wait for her guards. She ran through the palace halls like a common person, her robes flying behind her, her antennae streaming in the wind of her passage. Servants and nobles jumped out of her way. No one had ever seen a queen run before. The landing platform was on the top of the palace. By the time Queen Morella reached it, she was out of breath and her legs were shaking. But she did not care. She stood at the edge of the platform and watched the sky. A small gray ship appeared through the clouds. It was ugly and battered, with scorch marks on its hull and pieces of armor missing. It looked like it had been through a war. Patrol ships surrounded it on all sides, but they kept their distance. They were escorting, not attacking. The ship landed softly on the platform. Steam hissed from damaged engines. Metal groaned as it settled. Then the door opened. Princess Lyra appeared at the top of the ramp. She looked terrible. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her skin was pale. Her eyes had dark circles under them. But she was standing. She was breathing. She was alive. Mother and daughter stared at each other across the landing platform. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Lyra's face crumbled. "Mama!" She ran down the ramp and across the platform. Queen Morella dropped to her knees and opened her arms. Her daughter slammed into her chest so hard it hurt, but she did not care. She wrapped her arms around her child and held on as tightly as she could. "My baby," she whispered. "My precious little one. I thought I lost you. I thought I would never see you again. Mama, I'm back." Lyra was crying, sobbing, shaking with emotions she could not control. "He saved me, Mama. The human saved me." Queen Morella pulled back just enough to look at her daughter's face. She wiped the tears from those golden eyes and touched her antennae gently, the way she had done when Lyra was just a baby. "He brought you home," she said. "He kept his promise. He almost died." Lyra grabbed her mother's hands. "He fought so many of them. They hurt him so badly. He was bleeding everywhere, but he would not stop. He would not leave me behind." Fresh tears streamed down her face. "He said he had a sister once. He said he could not save her. But he saved me, Mama. He saved me." Queen Morella looked up at the ship's open door. A young human woman, Yuna, she would learn later, appeared at the top of the ramp. She was helping someone walk. Someone who was moving very slowly, leaning heavily on her support. Park Taiho descended the ramp one painful step at a time. He looked worse than the ship. His left arm was wrapped in bandages and hung in a sling. More bandages covered his chest and stomach under his torn clothing. His face was pale from blood loss, and dark bruises marked his skin. He walked like every step caused him agony, but he walked when he reached the bottom of the ramp. He straightened up as much as he could. He looked at the queen and the princess kneeling on the platform together. "She is safe," he said. His voice was rough and weak. That was the deal. Queen Morella rose to her feet. She walked toward this broken human who had walked through fire for her daughter. Her advisors would expect her to be formal, to maintain royal dignity. She did not care what they expected. "You nearly died for her," she said. "Occupational hazard. That is not an answer." Taiho swayed slightly. Yuna steadied him. For a moment, his mask of calm slipped, and the queen saw exhaustion and pain underneath. "The 30,000 families," he said. "That is still our agreement, yes? The 30,000 families will have everything they need." Queen Morella's voice was firm. "Land, resources, full rights as citizens. I will write it into law myself. Then we are done here." He started to turn away. "We are not done." The queen's voice stopped him. "You saved the heir to my throne. You saved my daughter. You will be honored for this, whether you want it or not. I do not need. This is not about what you need. It is about what you deserve." Princess Lyra ran forward and grabbed Taiho's hand, the one that was not injured. She looked up at him with eyes that were still wet with tears, but now shining with something else. Determination. "You are family now," she said. "That is how it works in our culture. When someone saves your life, they become part of your family. You cannot say no." Taiho looked down at this little alien princess who had dragged him to safety when he could no longer walk, who had refused to let him die, who had believed in him even when he did not believe in himself. "I'm not very good at being family," he said quietly. "That is okay. I will teach you." Lyra squeezed his hand. "You are stuck with us now, forever." For the first time since he had arrived at the Valari Palace, Park Taiho smiled. It was a small smile, tired and worn. But it was real. "I guess I can live with that." Queen Morella stepped forward and placed her hand on Taiho's shoulder gently, careful of his injuries. From this day forward, you will be known as Park Taiho, hero of the Valari Empire. Your name will be spoken with honor for as long as our civilization exists. That is a lot. You earned it. She looked at Yuna. Both of you. You are heroes, whether you like it or not. Yuna laughed softly. I just fly the ship. He does the crazy stuff. Flying the ship kept them alive. That makes you a hero too. Guards were arriving now, along with doctors and advisors and all the other people who wanted to see the princess. The landing platform was getting crowded. But for a moment longer, it was just the four of them, a queen, a princess, and two humans who had changed everything. Come, Queen Morella said. You need medical care. Real medical care, not whatever you managed on that ship. And food. And rest. She looked at Taiho with something like wonder in her eyes. You have done an impossible thing, Park Taiho. Let us take care of you now. I'm not used to being taken care of. Then get used to it. Princess Lyra tugged on his hand, pulling him toward the palace doors. Mama gives orders and everyone has to obey. That means you too. Taiho let himself be led. He was too tired to argue. Too tired to do anything except put one foot in front of the other. But as he walked, he felt something he had not felt in a long, long time. Peace. The mission was over. The princess was safe. His people would have a home. For the first time in years, he did not have to fight, did not have to run, did not have to survive. He could just rest up behind them. Yuna followed with a smile on her face. She had known Taiho for 5 years. She had seen him fight battles that should have killed him. She had watched him carry burdens that would have crushed anyone else. She had never seen him at peace before. Maybe, she thought, this place could be good for them. Maybe they had finally found somewhere they belonged. The doors of the palace closed behind them, shutting out the cold wind and the watching stars. Inside, warmth and light waited. Inside, a family was being born, strange and unexpected and new. And somewhere in the depths of space, 30,000 human families were sailing toward a future they had never dared to dream of. All because one man had made a promise and kept it. The first human ships arrived on a Tuesday. That was what the Valari called it. Anyway, their word for the third day of their week. Taiho stood on a hillside and watched them come down from the sky. There were 20 ships in the first wave. They were old and beaten, held together with hope and repair tape. They had been floating in space for years, moving from system to system, looking for somewhere that would take them. No one ever had. Humans were dangerous, everyone said. Humans destroyed their own planet. Humans could not be trusted. But the Valari had said yes. The ships landed in a valley that had been prepared for them. Workers had built temporary shelters. Food and medicine waited in storage buildings. Teachers were ready to help the newcomers learn the Valari language. Everything was organized. Everything was ready. Yuna stood beside Taiho, watching the ship settle onto the grass. We actually did it, she said softly. We did. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up, that this is all a dream. Taiho shook his head. It is real. All of it. The first people emerged from the ships. Old men and women. Young parents carrying babies. Children who had never seen the sky before. They stepped out onto solid ground and looked around with wide, wondering eyes. One little girl, maybe 6 years old, bent down and touched the grass. She pulled up a handful and held it to her face, smelling it, feeling it between her fingers. Then she started to cry. Her mother picked her up and held her tight. It is okay, sweetheart. We are home now. We are finally home. Taiho watched this scene and felt something crack inside his chest. He had been a soldier for so long. He had learned to keep his emotions locked away, to feel nothing, to be nothing except what the mission required. But now he could feel.
Tayo.
A familiar voice called from behind him.
Tayo.
He turned and saw Princess Lyra running up the hillside toward him. She had grown in the past 6 months taller, stronger. Her shell began to harden into adult colors. But she still ran like a child, full of energy and joy. Behind her, moving more slowly, came Queen Morella. She wore simple clothes today, not her royal robes. She wanted to welcome the humans as a person, not as a queen. Lyra reached Taiho and threw her arms around him. He had gotten used to this over the past months. The Lari were very physical with their family, always touching and hugging. It had been strange at first. Now it felt normal. I watched the ships come down from my window. Lyra said, "There are so many of them. This is just the first group. More will come every week until all 30,000 families are here. That is so many people." She looked down at the valley, at the crowds of humans emerging from their ships. "Will they all be happy here?" "I think so." "I hope so." Queen Morella reached them and stood beside Taiho. She followed his gaze down to the valley. "They look so tired," she said quietly. "They have been running for a long time. Most of them have never known anything except ships and stations. This is their first real home. Then we will make it a good one." The Queen's voice was firm with determination. "I have spoken with my council. We are giving them the southern continent. Good land, clean water, room to grow. That is very generous. It is what they deserve." She looked at Taiho. "It is what you deserve." Down in the valley, a group of children had discovered a small river. They were splashing in the water, laughing and shouting. Their parents watched with tears in their eyes. Such a simple thing playing in a river. But for these children, it was a miracle. "I want to go meet them," Lyra said. "Can I, Mama? Can I go say hello?" Queen Morella smiled. "Of course. Just take a guard with you." Lyra made a face but did not argue. She hugged Taiho one more time, then ran down the hillside toward the valley. The Queen watched her go. "She has changed since you brought her home," she said. "How so?" "She is braver, stronger. She does not fear the dark anymore." The Queen paused. "She told me about her time in captivity, about how scared she was, about how she had given up hope before you found her." Taiho said nothing. He did not like to think about those 9 days, about what the princess had suffered before he reached her. "She also told me about the escape," the Queen continued. "How you fought through an army to save her. How you refused to stop even when you were dying. How she dragged you to safety when you could no longer walk. She is braver than she knows. She learned it from you." Queen Morella turned to face him fully. "I have been thinking, Park Taiho, about the future, about what role you might play in it. I thought my job was done. I brought Lyra home. I secured the agreement for the refugees. What more is there?" "Much more." The Queen's eyes were thoughtful. "My people have never truly known humans. We have heard stories, mostly bad ones, but we have never lived alongside them. There will be challenges ahead, misunderstandings, conflicts. We will need someone who can bridge the gap between our peoples. Someone both sides trust. You want me to be an ambassador. I want you to be a builder, a leader, someone who can help humans and Volari learn to live together." She smiled slightly. "And yes, technically, an ambassador, with a title and everything. Very official. I am not good at politics." "Neither am I, but we manage." She gestured at the valley below, where human children were now playing with young Volari who had come to meet them. "Look at them, Taiho. They are already learning that the stories were wrong, that humans are not monsters, that we are not so different after all." Taiho watched a human boy trying to teach a Volari girl how to skip stones across the river. Neither of them spoke the other's language, but they were laughing together. understanding each other in a way that did not require words. "It will not always be this easy," he said. "No, it will not. There will be hard times. People who resist. Problems we cannot predict." The Queen put her hand on his shoulder. "But I believe we can build something good here. Something that lasts. If we work together." Yuna had been quiet through this conversation, but now she spoke up. "He will do it, Your Majesty. He just needs time to realize he wants to." Taiho gave her an annoyed look. She grinned back at him. "She knows you well," the Queen observed. "Too well." They stood together on the hillside and watched the sun move across the sky. Below them, the first day of a new chapter was unfolding. Humans were setting up homes. Valari were bringing food and supplies. Children of both species were discovering that friendship had no language barrier. It was not a perfect day. There were problems to solve, conflicts to manage, 1,000 things that could go wrong. But it was a beginning. A real beginning. "I will do it," Taiho said finally. The Queen raised an eyebrow. "You will accept the position?" "Yes, on one condition." "Name it." He looked at her with eyes that had seen too much death and suffering, but still held a spark of hope. "When we build this new society, humans and Valari together, we build it the right way. No second-class citizens. No barriers. Everyone equal. Everyone valued. If we are going to do this, we do it properly." Queen Morella held out her hand. It was a human gesture. She had learned it from watching him. "The deal," she said. Taiho took her hand and shook it. Below them, Princess Lyra had reached the valley. She was standing with a group of human children, talking and gesturing, trying to communicate despite the language difference. One little girl, the same one who had cried over the grass, reached out and touched Lyra's antennae with curious fingers. Everyone tensed. Touching a Valari's antennae was very personal, very intimate. But Lyra just laughed and let the girl explore. Then she bent down and whispered something that made all the children giggle. "She will make a good queen someday," Yuna said. "She already is," Taiho replied. "In all the ways that matter." The sun was setting now, painting the sky in colors that no human had seen since Earth died. Oranges and purples and deep reds, beautiful beyond words. In the valley, humans were eating their first meal on solid ground in years. Valari was sharing food from their own tables, teaching the newcomers about their culture and customs. Somewhere, someone had started playing music a human saw, sad and hopeful at the same time. Taiho listened to the music and thought about his sister. She had loved to sing. She had a voice like sunshine, bright and warm. She died too young, before the wars even started, from a sickness they could not cure. He had been trying to save her ever since. In every mission, every rescue, every person he brought home, he was still trying. Maybe now, he thought, he could finally rest. Maybe here, on this alien world with these strange and beautiful people, he could stop running. Stop fighting. Stop surviving long enough to actually live. "Come on," Yuna said, tugging his arm. "Let us go join the party. Standing on hills is boring." He followed her down toward the valley, toward the music and laughter and light, toward the future he had fought so hard to make possible. Behind him, Queen Morella watched them go. She thought about the day Taiho had walked into her throne room, how he had asked for nothing for himself, how he had risked everything for a child he had never met and people who would never know his name. This, she thought, is what humans really are. Not the monsters of the stories, not the destroyers of worlds, just people like us, capable of terrible things and beautiful things, choosing again and again to be better. She smiled and walked down the hillside to join her people, all of her people, old and new.